when you cut visible policing, half stop and search, and only 6% of offences result in a charge, it's a playground for criminals. And that's effectively what's happened in London. So my safer neighbourhood team in my area consisted of 10. Now I've got 1. And what people don't understand is that the policeman on the street also has to go to court, he has to give evidence, he has to file incredible amount of paperwork. And he gets the brunt of it. I'm always defending him to residents. They're like, oh, he doesn't do anything, I report police. It's not fair on him because he's working so hard with such little appreciation because he doesn't have the support he needs. And that's a mayor that doesn't prioritise policing. He doesn't prioritise safety.
Hi, Vigilante Mum.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Lovely to be here.
So, you've had a big week.
I have, yeah. Thanks to social media.
Yeah, you knew what you were doing.
Yeah, it's been a good week.
So, let's talk about Sadiq Khan.
Yeah.
Everyone
Everyone's
hates
favourite person.
Everyone hates him.
Everyone.
Everyone.
Hates him. I mean, I know you saw. I don't know if you saw actually.
Of course I saw it.
Yeah. So I just thought I'd ask him, and I was wondering what his reaction would be, but I didn't think it would be such a disdainful kind of entitled.
Did you slap your
reaction.
headphones on?
What's that?
Put your headphones on.
Oh, you put the headphones on, we can hear it. I loved it.
Mr. Khan, I'm a Westminster City Councillor. I just wanted to ask you on your thoughts on knife crime going up by 60% in the past 2 years. No, this is the Met thing. Knife crime, 60% up, and you don't care. Nothing to say? Nothing to say? Nothing to say about knife crime going up? 81,000 phones stolen? Nothing, you don't care?
If you want to write
Write in.
You're cracking up.
I mean, if you want to write in.
What was he doing? What was he doing?
So that was meant to be what I believe a public walkabout.
Okay.
When a politician goes on a walkabout, he's meant to speak to the public, but I don't think it was advertised as such. So no one really knew about it. He's got a 20 deep security detail. I was pushed away by, I don't know if that was the police or the security, who said, write in. Also, he's in Westminster, by the way. So I'm not some random person.
No.
I'm a Westminster City Councillor. And he also knew who I was, obviously, because he said, say hi to Nigel.
Yeah. Hi, Nigel.
You know, exactly. I said, well, if you really want to say hi to him, why don't you come and debate him?
Well, he won't do the debate.
Of course not. How can he? What's he going to say?
Well, did he not say it's a political stunt?
Yeah, I mean, of course he'd say that. But nobody who lives in London feels safer since he's come into power. Nobody. And I think that's the number one priority for Londoners. It is for me.
So I don't live in London, but when I was about 15 is when I first started to come to concerts in London.
Yeah.
It was great. I used to come down with my friends, go to concerts. And my daughter asked to go to one. I was like, absolutely not. Yeah. The only way is I'm driving you and I'm waiting outside. Yeah. And she couldn't understand. And I was like, London's dangerous.
No. I mean, I used to go to, I think my first one that I went alone was Bobby Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. We all wore these like tube black short dresses and had signs, we love you, Bobby Brown. He shook our hands on the way out. We didn't wash them for a week. We loved Bobby Brown. But no, exactly. I won't let her go either until if she's dropped off. And if she does go, if she nags me to death, sometimes I give in. And I'm worried to death. But I don't think London should be like that. It doesn't have to be. We're all civil people who live here. You know, it was always a civil country, a civil city.
By the way, it's like that in Bedford as well. I can tell you things about that. But for people who don't live in London, give an impression of the trajectory of how things have changed.
So when you cut visible policing, half stop and search, and only 6% of offences result in a charge, it's a playground for criminals. And that's effectively what's happened in London. So my safer neighbourhood team in my area consisted of 10. Now I've got 1. And what people don't understand is that the policeman on the street also has to go to court. He has to give evidence. He has to file incredible amount of paperwork. And he gets the brunt of it. I'm always defending him to residents. They're like, oh, he doesn't do anything. I report police. It's not fair on him because he's working so hard with such little appreciation because he doesn't have the support he needs. And that's a mayor that doesn't prioritise policing. He doesn't prioritise safety.
Is that obviously that is the mayor. We can't blame the mayor. But it seems to be a wider issue across the country as well. So I've been trying to dig into it locally where we are. Because in Bedford, I don't know if you know Bedford, but we've got so many issues.
I haven't had the pleasure yet.
So we have endless issues of drug addiction, alcoholism, shoplifting in the town centre. The town centre is starting to look a little bit like a little San Francisco.
Yep.
Just a little bit. All the signs are there, more homeless sleeping, and just all these issues. And I've tried to dig into it, and there's not enough police. And there's a couple of things that really stand out to me. One is that this appointment of like the PCCs, is it the OPCC, the department's called or something? And so this is a political appointee who is now in charge of policing rather than policemen.
And what's interesting, PCCs have no policing, law and order experience. It's a political role.
Yes.
That doesn't require any of that. So you wonder, how can the police respect someone like that?
Yes.
I mean, no offense, but policing's a hard job.
Well, I know they don't. The police have told me they
Yeah,
don't.
no, and I get it.
And the guy in Bedford wants to increase his budget from 2.5 million to 2.7 million and wants to take on a new communications and increase the chief exec salary. So I did the numbers for 2.7 million. It's about 50 officers we could have, frontline officers.
Imagine if they flood your high street.
I mean, 50 officers. You could have round the clock policing in the town. So that's one issue. But I also spoke to another one. I spoke to a guy I know at the Met. He said the biggest problem for police now is the prosecution of police and the fear that police have of doing something wrong. If I want to stop and search somebody, am I going to be called a racist? If I arrest somebody in the wrong way, if I don't handle the situation correctly, am I going to be prosecuted and removed from the service? And the endless paperwork.
Yeah, exactly that.
And well, you see the same problem.
No, I do. I mean, I funny enough, while I was waiting for Sadiq to exit, I spoke to a couple of police officers. And as a prosecutor, I know that low-level crime, right, even if it is prosecuted, so above £200, you don't go to prison for it, right? So as you say, it's a recurring offence. One way you could deal with it, even without increasing sentencing guidelines, is CBOs, which are criminal behaviour orders, which ban you from the area. And they're so effective. Yeah. The only effective force that uses that to its maximum potential is the City of London.
It's so funny you should say that. Check this out.
You commit a crime in the City of London, you're not coming back.
Oh, it's on my laptop.
Yeah.
So I was with a local councillor yesterday talking about CBOs. And they are really effective. They aren't being used. And I don't understand why.
I know why.
Okay.
I was a prosecutor, right? And when a police put through a CBO, we make the application for them. And only the City of London has enough police officers to deal with it. It's a huge amount of paperwork. You have to attend court. They have one officer dedicated to doing CBOs, one or two, and and that's why they're so effective. Literally one crime we laugh because it's a City of London CBO. I speak to my officer. They'd love to issue a CBO. There's no one to deal with it. We need to have dedicated departments in the Mets and the police to deal with CBOs, purely CBOs. Because also, if you remove the criminal from the area and from the temptation to commit that crime, you're helping them as well. Right? But what they do is they commit an offence, they come back the next day. And why not? They're going to get you know what they get? They get a fine that's deducted from their benefits. By
the way, on that £200 thing, there's another interesting side effect of that. So I've got a friend, she owns a shop in Bedford, and she said they're seeing increased shoplifting from what are considered either young people or middle-class people.
Shoplifting comes in every guise. I know it's mad, but you don't get prosecuted. You know that if you go into a shop and steal a steak and a bottle of wine, you're not going to get anything.
No.
You know what I mean? And the security guard's not going to risk their lives. I speak to a lot of security guards, and I've prosecuted a lot of persistent shoplifters. And when you go to court and when sentence is passed on them, the sentence invariably focuses on the criminal. So, he's got drug addiction. How can we help him? Let's give him an alcohol reduction program. Let's give him a drug rehabilitation program. It was only 60 quid. And he's only getting prosecuted for the 60 quid because it's his 70th, right? Otherwise he wouldn't. And I had to stand up once. I said, listen, it might be low level, but there are security guards who rely on the living to keep that safe. And actually, it affects consumers when shoplifting goes up.
Well, it passes the cost on to us.
Exactly. And nobody takes into account the effect on them. Oh, they give them, small compensation, again, deducted from benefits, so it doesn't really affect them. And that's it. And I said, every day, security guards, number one, they've given up, right? And it's kind of humiliating for them.
Well, what's the point of having them if they're not going to provide security for the property?
An M&S opened next to me, and he said in the first 3 months, the theft was costing him more than he was selling.
So there's a B&M near us, and I went in and spoke to the security guard there, and he showed me his phone. They have all the footage of all of them. He said, I've got over 800 people on here.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I know. Look, a supermarket in my area actually has a who's who, like, you know, a blacklist of people who come and steal from him on his wall, because he says he calls 999 so much that they've screened his calls. He says they must be screening my calls because they don't answer.
The person one of the people I spoke to said they'd put in 7 CBOs and the judge only approved 2.
So interestingly, so it depends who you get in a CBO. And some judges or benches think it's too onerous, right? Oh, you know, do we really have to ban him? He's only like done 3 shoplifts. Like, why I think it works better in the City of London, number one, they have staff, but also there's not that many people that live there. So you don't really have to go there unless it's for commerce. A very, very small percentage. They don't have many residents in the City of London. And so it's almost easier to get a CBO because there's no need to go in there unless you live there. Whereas if you ban someone from, I don't know, Westminster or Kensington and Chelsea, which the areas where there's shops and people steal, or the high street, they'll be like, well, they need to go to here, they need to go to there. It is a harder threshold. But it doesn't matter. You commit the crime, you should not be allowed back in the privilege of going back into that area. And it should be minor, you know, just one theft and you are banned. Not necessarily forever, obviously, but for a limited amount of time. And you know that if you do it again, it will be the same.
We have an area also called St. Peter's Green, where it's at the very top of the high street. If you're parking in certain places, you live in certain places, you have to walk through it. And average number of drunks there a day, Connor?
20.
Average. That's the average. So some days it's 30 or 40. Fighting, collapsing, puking. How many ambulances have you seen?
Seen 3. 2 people being resuscitated.
Yeah.
It's very sad, actually, to see.
Well, even worse, Connor saw a mother and a father with a buggy there off their face. And I was trying to find out why that's allowed to happen. So they can put in dispersal orders. But I was like, why didn't you just make it a alcohol-free zone? They can't make it an alcohol-free zone. They said all they can do is the legislation's changed, and all they can do is punish based on antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
But one drink isn't antisocial behaviour, because what you don't want to do is if I went down with my girlfriend to the river and we had a glass of wine, you don't want to punish us with the same rules. So
there is a law called drunk and disorderly.
But they have to be drunk and disorderly.
They have to be drunk and disorderly.
The first drink they're not.
Yeah.
But at 9 a.m, when they're there with a can of high strength cider, we know what their day's going to be, but we have to wait for them to be drunk and disorderly.
So you think something like the US, where you can't have an open can policy in public spaces?
I would ban. In a specific area, I would create the PSPO order.
Yeah,
in certain
exactly.
areas, no drinking. That area you can't drink.
I've asked the Westminster Council to issue a PSPO where I live. They've ignored me. I think PSPOs work well.
If they're enforced.
If they're enforced. But it does give the council more power to enforce when you've got such limited police resources, right? But I think in terms of that, so I have people taking crack, on my high street. I've gone with the police and done a search for weapons and stuff, and I found like needles and crack pipes. And the problem is as a prosecutor, I saw a large percentage of what you see. So these offenders who are drug addicts, alcohol addicts, and they really steal to feed that addiction, right?
Get the that Bedfordshire Independent article from the other night, the bike theft. I want to show you something.
Fine. And then that kind of addiction is not being addressed, right? So, and that's almost a revolving door. And if we address that, so this is not policy by reformer, and it's just my opinion. If instead of locking them up for 3 days, you actually dedicated a prison that is for
addiction treatment.
Addiction treatment, like the Priory, because it's very difficult to get addiction treatment on the NHS. Mm-hmm. I know, because a friend of mine's son, she had to send to Thailand, she couldn't afford it here, right? And if you had that where they were not released until they are drug and alcohol free, I think you would see a massive reduction in that kind of crime. Instead, they get something called an ATR, which is an alcohol treatment order, or treatment or something. And, it's basically like you come in, we measure your alcohol measures, or they get a drug rehabilitation order. But it's not, it has to, and they beg us sometimes they're in the drug. They're like, I want to stop, help me.
Look at this. This was literally 2 nights ago, Con?
Oh my God.
Yeah. And someone with an
Jeez,
axe.
an axe.
Literally an axe. They stole his bike. I mean, it's
Wow.
just,
An
it's becoming lawless
Mhm. I agree.
to an extent that I'm like, what what are we meant to do? What are we meant to do when we're seeing businesses close down, people scared to go in their town centre, addicts, thieves everywhere? I mean, every part of our country feels like it's breaking. And I don't want to just be a doomer all the time, but it's doomy.
Of course, it's doomy, and you saw what kind of Labour's politics is what put San Francisco the way it is. Right, San Francisco is an incredible location. It was an incredible city. It's where it's the richest of the richest in the world live there.
Yes.
But I mean, I think Whole Foods shut down. Big department stores shut down. Drug taking was almost legalized, and you do kind of see that here, open drug taking. And if you don't crack down like Mayor Giuliani did in New York, then it's just going to become the same.
We've just had the conversation on the way in.
Yeah,
It's so funny. By the way, have you read Michael Schellenberger's book,
No.
San Francisco? It's amazing.
right. I've been many times. I can imagine.
And have you been over the years and seen it got worse and worse?
I mean, I've had to step over feces. I did a speech that I spoke there at a conference, and I had to actually step over feces in where the conferences are. The thriving, bustling part of San Francisco, homeless people. It's really sad to see, right? Because it doesn't have to be like that.
No, but the book is called San Francisco: Why Progressives Destroy Cities.
Yeah, and you're seeing it in London slowly but surely.
Well, it's the whole country actually.
I only see London myself with my eyes, but I do hear the rest. Yeah, of course, the rest of the country.
Digging into it, it's the whole country. Almost every single town and city has got a massive increase in crime and antisocial behaviour. And so, yes, Sadiq Khan is an idiot and he should resign, and hopefully someone will stand against him, and we will have fair elections, and everyone who's voting is a real human. Cough, cough. But there is a bigger, wider issue. It's a nationwide issue, and I'm trying to understand, Laila, how have we got to here? Like, what is the root? I mean, I think I know what it is, but what is the root cause?
The humble bee, a keystone species crucial to the survival of Earth's inhabitants. Here's how things would look if bees vanished. And here's how they'd look if humans vanished. But imagine if instead we became a keystone species by doing things the right way, by taking responsibility for our actions and becoming the solution. Iron mines, the world's most responsible currency, the right way. Because the future depends on it.
It's a betrayal by successive governments. They cut policing,
There you go.
right? They cut. I do sometimes feel they must be following some sort of global agenda, right? Because they've cut policing to the bone. I remember when the Tories said, we're hiring 20 police officers, but they actually got rid of 20 police officers a second before. Most of the magistrates in the country have closed. So, for instance, when I worked at the CPS like 17 years ago, I worked in the Surrey area, and I used to work in Staines, Woking, and Woking and Reigate. And Woking and Reigate mags have closed.
Okay.
Right? And all criminal matters start in the magistrates. And they shut them. Why? Why don't they prioritize our safety? It drives. Why? I'm like you. It's so easy. It would make people so happy. If I was running the country, I'd be like, you know what? You're going to see a policeman on the beat. We're going to flood hotspots where there's knife crime with police. If you wear a balaclava, expect to be stopped. And if you get stopped for shoplifting, you will pay a crime. You will pay the price. We just don't have that. Instead, we have thousands of unvetted men, I don't know if you saw, coming in. Sex offences and violent offences for foreigners has doubled in 12 years.
To talk about this, Laila.
No, I know. They're going to call me racist for sure. Most of them are coming actually from where my parents are from, the Middle East. So call me racist if you want. And that's exactly. I heard, was it Matthew Standlin or something, go on some of this, saying you don't care about human rights and I think it was Zia who said, I care about the human rights of people in this country. And he said, well, I care about all human rights. We all care about everyone's human rights. We're not evil people, but you have to, the contract between the voter and the government is you care about us first. That's it. And do whatever it takes. So when, Trump came into power, it was a national emergency, the immigration. Mm-hmm. He declared on day one, and it is a national emergency. Crime and immigration, which are interlinked, is a national emergency. I don't want to see an elite force. I've never heard of an elite force before until they announced the one to
what would you say?
To monitor what we say. Why is there not an elite force for knife crime? An elite force for shoplifting?
What's this gone?
This is conviction rates based on nationalities in the UK.
Go. So what's at the top there?
For violence.
Congo,
Somalia, Afghanistan, Iraq, Gambia.
That's for violence.
UK.
Sexual, Afghanistan, Eritrea, Namibia, Chad. And then theft, Algeria, Morocco, Romania.
Moldova's letting Europe down there.
So does that data make us racist?
Yes.
Right?
We're racist.
I only rely on facts. I rely on data. I don't rely on ideology or sentiment or political correctness. I'm sick of that.
Yeah.
We got to call it out as it is. And I'm not scared to. And some people said, oh, you can because, you're Egyptian and Muslim. No, I'm British and I'm a human being and I'm suffering the consequences. That's it. How dare you call anyone racist or right-wing to do that? It's... And I think that's why we're doing so well in the polls, right? Reform.
Well, it doesn't work anymore.
No.
Look, this worked 2 decades ago and maybe even a decade ago. Look, I was sympathetic. If you lived in Syria and you're being bombed, or you were in Iraq after we invaded illegally, Tony Blair, I understood why you wanted to leave. I get it. Come here, yeah. But now it's gone from a situation where we can manage the amount of people coming in to just a flood, and it isn't working. The integration isn't working, and there's too much crime. And
you can't integrate that many people that quickly.
No, you can't. It's impossible.
Legal or illegal. And what's really galling, Peter, is when you see them staying in 4-star hotels. We're the only country in Europe that does that. They all have detention centres. I think Germany, they're housed in disused gyms.
Right.
We're the only ones. I think in Wolverhampton I couldn't believe my eyes. I was reading yesterday, luxury new builds. God's sake, if you really want to create resentment. And then you have Keir Starmer to some kind of select committee saying, oh, you know what? There's loads of social housing to put them in. What? Then why aren't you housing our people first?
Well, if you want resentment, Connor, what's the thing that's frustrating you personally in your life right now?
Getting on the housing ladder.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly that. But when I was growing up, house prices in London were about 4 times your salary. But there's been no wage growth to account for the asset price growth.
We did the numbers. Apologies for anyone who's heard me talk about this on the show before, but we did the numbers. We were driving down to London one day to make the show, and Connor had been looking at a house where I bought my first one, and he said it's about 350,000. I was like, no, it's not. I lived in the edge of Bedford, which wasn't great. I bought my house for 100 grand 21 years ago, just before he was born. I was like, there's no way you would buy a house there for 350 grand. We looked up and it was. I was like, shit.
And not only that, but I bet your son is paying more in rent than he would in mortgage.
Not at the moment because he lives with me.
Oh, right. But he would. Most people are paying almost double they are in rents. And
I don't know if it's not that high in Bedford. So you for what would cost you $1,400 to rent in Bedford would cost you about 1,000 on the mortgage. It's not double.
No, but it's more.
It might be here. Yeah, it's more.
But it's more.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he could save that 400,
yes,
right? But instead he's paying most of it, people are paying most of it on rent. And it's the problem with the 30% deposit. We're punishing young people. And I think the deposit for a down payment should be a lot less. But then the government says, oh, we want people to own their home, but they're not building more.
No.
It's basic demand and supply.
Yeah. So that 250% increase in the house price,
Wow, since when?
Since over 21 years. But we looked, wage growth was 41%.
Wow.
Nurses, 27%. CPI, 81%-ish. About those numbers. Wow. So housing is just being pushed away from people. And I think there's another problem in that.
You know why, though?
Well,
Zero interest rates killed the housing market for the youth.
It did, but I think there was this perverse effect. I think you have to throw in QE. Mm-hmm. You have to throw in, and we destroyed the money. If you destroy the money, if you can't keep it in the bank, you can't get interest, and pensions aren't performing. Mm-hmm. People bought a second house, which became their pension, and then they're like, oh, I can buy a third house, fourth house, and then we just got lots of landlords. But even with that if you're building enough houses, that can work because people can rent at a lower price, and the house prices still would have been kept down. But No, destroying the money is one of the problems with that. But it's just
That's where Bitcoin comes in, I guess.
yeah. Well, that's the other thing.
It would destroy the monopoly of printing money, right, and causing inflation that the government has.
Of course, I mean,
Yeah.
Look, I like anything which takes power away from the state. Bitcoin takes power away
Yeah.
from the state. It takes power away of them destroying my money.
Yeah.
And I'm a big proponent of Bitcoin. I think everyone should consider it and look into it. I could talk about that for hours.
No, I know.
But let's talk about reform then.
Yeah,
Because you defected.
I did.
You were a conservative.
I was.
I'm historically a conservative voter. I didn't vote in the last 3 elections, though. I don't recognise the party anymore. I'm interested in reform, but I have concerns.
Mm-hmm.
But actually,
Let's address them. Let's address your concerns.
I'm interested in reform, restore, advance. I think they are 3 flavours of the same thing. I don't need to get into the disagreements between the people involved in those, but they all understand the sentiment of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say the sentiment of the country, I think the vast majority of the country now is pissed off.
Mm-hmm.
They're pissed off at people grifting the system, tax going up, Rachel Reeves being a moron. They're pissed off with they've had to go through the woke period. They're pissed off that their kids are pissed off they're going to university and can't get jobs.
Yeah.
Can't get on the housing ladder. It doesn't matter whether you're 20, 40, 60, you're pissed off.
Yeah.
Everyone's pissed off. And the great hope for many at the moment is reform.
Uh-huh.
You defected.
Yes.
Why?
I defected because for me, everything stems from patriotism.
Yeah.
Right? And under Labour and Conservatives, patriotism, they almost made it dangerous. And patriotism almost signified left, ultra-right with them.
You're like a Millwall football fan.
Do I?
No, that's what it was.
No,
It was like-
exactly.
It got the football hooligan era kind of shamed patriotism because there was this period of time where you saw bald-headed England fans
Yes.
fighting, and they were seen as the patriotic crew.
But patriotism is what holds our nation
Yeah, I
together, right? And it has to be embraced. And for me, immigrants that come in and don't embrace it should not be allowed in our country, and they definitely shouldn't be allowed a penny of our money, which they do get in benefits. My parents came here in the 60s with the full intention of assimilating. Being British values, we wanted to be as British as possible. That's why we came. You know, if I wanted a country where there was Sharia law and I couldn't criticize Islam, there's loads of countries that would allow me to do that, right? And you got to wonder why people want that here, but are still here. And the only reason there's got to be benefits, right? There's no social welfare in the Middle East or in Afghanistan. If you don't work, you don't have any money. And for me, if you don't pass a patriotism test, you shouldn't be allowed in, number one. And if you're already in, you should almost have to pass a patriotism test every year if you're going to claim benefits. I'm sorry. I'm not going to have someone come here with the sole purpose of either committing crime or not working and hating our country.
So are you saying that the Conservatives weren't representing that view in reform?
No. Just look. They kept us wedded to the ECHR.
Yeah.
You know, every month or every week, there's a story of a rapist or someone who couldn't be deported from some ridiculous reason, such as, I don't know, their cat's human rights. Literally, I think there was Catgate at some point. No, exactly. It's comical, you know. And then they say they're the party of home building, but as you say, under them, the people who own their home, your son's age, reduced. In fact, we have 30 and 40-year-olds, Peter, who will never own their home. Right? And a state that can't afford to support them in old age. What do you do? We don't have enough. And they let in so many people, and they didn't even build a fraction of what was needed in terms of housing, in terms of prison spaces, infrastructure. Infrastructure is the same. The madness was having 0% interest rates and not borrowing to increase our infrastructure. No, they borrowed to increase our welfare state and our public sector. Madness. At least invest in infrastructure
And drive consumption. They wanted to drive consumption.
Yeah, but you drive consumption by those on benefits in a perpetual doom loop.
Yeah.
of debt. Right?
They didn't drive wealth creation.
No, and I don't think the wealth of a nation is not dependent on how much money is in circulation. It's the availability of goods and services. I mean, as you know, basic economics is the allocation of scarce resources in the best way possible.
Yes.
Right? And I don't think the government the Conservative government did that in any way. I mean, net zero was the same. Net zero really let our country down. I was furious in the energy crisis in Ukraine, after the Ukraine war. I was speaking to a friend in France. Our energy prices were so much lower. I'm like, for God's sake, why am I paying so much? I was paying Peter. And I still am. And and then I really looked into it. So they have, I don't know, 60%, 70% nuclear. We have like nothing. Yeah. They have energy storage. Liz Truss shut our energy storage down 10 years ago under the stupid belief that we could always import cheap oil from Russia. Well, that taught us. When you try and be an MP, as I was trying on Conservatives, every constituency that was rural that I'd go to, the number one issue would be, we don't want pylons, right? Fair enough. But then their MP would be like, oh, we support your renewable energy. We need to increase our grid capacity to have more renewable energy on the grid, but you can't have it without the pylons, because to build under the sea is very expensive and no one wants to pay for that. So it was just madness. And then we exported our pollution as well as our economic growth. So all our manufacturing industry, it all went abroad.
What happened to the Conservative Party then? What do you think happened?
I do think there is a problem with the people they select. It's just I think the beliefs of the Conservative Party is not what it was. It's almost like, for instance, Apple, right? Apple started off as this super innovative, always coming out with new technology, new products. Now I feel it's just a cash cow, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't bring anything new out. It just relies on you losing your AirPods or buying the latest iPad or the new iPhone. It's changed.
Yeah.
And in tech and in business, if you don't innovate, you die. And there's an entitlement to power that they don't feel they need to innovate. And I do think it's the people in charge. They don't have the same beliefs that Thatcher did. Thatcher was a radicalizing reformer and an incredible communicator. She didn't believe that you should rely on the state. She believed in self-reliance, right? And self-reliance.
Crazy.
Imagine that. Because only a person knows, only you know what you need, right?
Yeah.
The state doesn't. And we've seen, if you rely on the state, it can be painful because the government giveth and the government taketh, depending on the mood of the day. And she believed in that. And she actually, it wasn't just talk, she actually put in reform to change it, right? The Big Bang in the city. And the Conservatives didn't do any of that, did they?
So on this podcast, you are definitely hearing me talk about Bitcoin a lot. Well, why? We live in a really strange time with governments driving inflation with their reckless spending and endless money printing. There is a way out of this. There is a way to protect your money, and that is by stacking Bitcoin. I've made loads of shows about Bitcoin. You can go and research this, you can go and read the books, but the truth is, it is the hardest money ever created. If you are interested in protecting your financial future, it's time for you to get on the Bitcoin train. I've been stacking Bitcoin personally and through my businesses since 2017. It's protected me, it's secured my family's future, and it also strengthens all of my businesses. So if you want to start stacking Bitcoin, where do you do it? Well, for me, it's with Gemini. They're a fully licensed, full reserve exchange and custodian, so they give you a secure way for you to buy and own your Bitcoin. There's no risks and no funny business. So if you're serious about stacking Bitcoin the right way, head over to Gemini.com, which is GEMINI.com. Well, I don't think we've had a good prime minister since Thatcher.
No. Tony Blair came in with bluster, right? He had the charm and at least he had charisma, because we don't even have that now. But no, we need... And it's really quite basic, don't you think? You get it. I get it. Everyone I speak to gets it. It's not rocket science what we're discussing. People just want to be healthy, happy, and safe and successful. And know that if they work hard, they can own a home and their kids will do better than them.
I think people want fairness.
Yeah. That comes down to fairness. You work hard and you reap the rewards.
People can walk into a shop, steal under £200 of stuff and face no penalties. I don't receive a council tax bill from my Westminster Council because we get new landlords. It gets put in a cupboard downstairs. I miss it. And I'm Kurt, how good a payer am I? Yeah, pretty good. I pay every bill as it comes in.
Yes, same.
I've now got a £2,000 fine for being late.
What?
Yeah. It's the second we got a note put up on the door here. It was a letter saying you haven't paid your council tax. Here's the amount. And the collection charge is £1,772. I paid the council tax fee that day. The bill,
yeah,
because I always pay when I know. And I said, I'm not paying this charge. but apparently I have to. They're now threatening bailiffs. I'm refusing to pay it. And they said they're going to come in and take our equipment.
I had the same thing when I was so angry with the BBC. I refused to pay my TV license.
Ooh.
Yeah. I said, you know what? I'm not going to pay it. I'm not going to pay it. And exactly the same, this is a criminal. We're prosecuting you. If you don't, you're going to get this. In the end, of course, I paid it.
Isn't it funny how they can prosecute that?
I know.
Quickly. Quickly and efficiently, but they can't prosecute. And this is the fundamental point. There's now not a fairness in the country. If you start a business, they've put so many hurdles in front of you. There's no benefits anymore. You might get a sneaky meal that you can put on your company card here or there. But really, there's no real tax benefits to starting a business. They squeeze the blood out of that stone continually.
Frozen. I mean, worst fiscal drag since the 70s.
And most people having to work evenings and weekends just to deal with their HR admin, their VAT admin, and they've just made that a nightmare. It's hard for young people to get on the housing ladder. University is now a waste of time, and everywhere around you see people grift the system, whether it's people getting government contracts, whether it's people renting properties to their local council, whether it's, I don't know, just every single direction there's an unfairness in this country.
Yeah.
We're punishing the best and rewarding the worst. If you want to send your kids to private school, you've got to pay VAT now. And we're now seeing schools close down. We're actually witnessing that. Every direction it's wrong. And, this is why people are looking for reform, though. The hope that something will change, but there are definitely murmurs of concern that will they do this? If reform, because they're probably going to win the next election, let's be honest. Will they be able to change the country? Will, in a year after Nigel becomes Prime Minister and 3 years after, will the country feel better, fairer, safer? Can it actually be done?
Yeah, 100% it can be done. Nigel wouldn't be in it if he didn't believe it could be done. And you're right, it needs radical change. And the problem is that we've had almost I hate the term uniparty because everyone uses it, but it's true.
It's true.
Yeah, you vote Labour, you vote Conservatives. There's not really much difference. The rhetoric's different, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you
they
vote
talk about
Conservative,
growth, but you don't see any policies that actually encourage growth.
No, if you vote Conservative, it's shit.
Yeah.
If you vote Labour, it's really shit.
And faster.
And faster.
Yeah.
But it's still shit under both. Everything's getting worse.
Everything's getting
worse.
worse.
Name me one thing that's got better in this country in the last decade. One thing. NHS?
No.
The economy?
We've poured 40 billion in the NHS in the past 4 years and it's getting worse.
Everything's got worse.
Everything.
Even Tottenham won a trophy.
Wow. Not that.
Everything's getting worse.
Everything's getting worse. We have become world champions in football, female.
Yes, take that, Joe Barton.
But the problem is that both parties think you can just borrow.
European champions.
Yeah, but sorry, European.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both parties still,
It's amazing.
Amazing. I mean, I was there when, Beckham missed that free kick. Like, I've been heartbroken since. So the problem is, I think both parties think they can just borrow. But debt finally matters, right? Because interest rates are high.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't prioritize what matters to you and me anymore.
140 billion borrowing this year, of which 80 billion is debt interest. That is a Ponzi scheme.
It is. And what's the other part paying for? Welfare and the public sector. We're paying 8 million to house illegal migrants in hotels, while other people struggle
daily.
8 million daily, yeah.
Yeah.
While other people are struggling, they get their bills paid. I mean, admittedly, they don't get much pocket money, but they're fed. Whereas others get up in the morning, take time from their family, precious time from your little kids. When the kids were little, to work.
Mm-hmm.
As I was working at CPS, I'd leave at about 7 and get home at 6. Then I'd have to prepare cases the next day. People are doing that all over the country.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're seeing this. And then they're being told, there's not really enough money. So we're going to have to tax you in September. We're really sorry. Yet they squirrel away 7 billion for a big blunder that they never told us about. And then they get upset when people protest.
So what do you think are the most important things that reform day one have to focus on?
So day one, they have to focus on immigration, right?
Okay.
It's just, it's a reckless level of immigration right now. And God knows where it will be when we come into power. That has to be completely rewired. Asylum applications are taking way too long to process. There has to be a complete stop at the border. It will be a national emergency. And then the second thing is crime. In my opinion, something's crime. Other people in reform might think the economy, but for me, a lot stems from crime, right? It will be a zero tolerance approach. And we will literally, what I like about reform is that it will do whatever it takes. There's no messing about. There's no, Tories are like, we're going to think about the ECHR. What's there to think about? We've been in it for decades. It will be a zero tolerance approach. We'll do whatever it takes. But number one thing is to finally prioritize Britain and to prioritize British people. Actually, I think reform right now represents those that have been ignored, patronized, and worse, silenced. And that is the silent majority.
So it's interesting. Well, I do want to go back to crime because you were a prosecutor.
Yeah.
So you've worked on the inside.
Yeah.
What is the biggest block for prosecutors to be able to do their work of prosecuting?
So, for instance, I sat on the review team where I authorized charges for quite serious cases, and I also did trials. When it comes to charging, the Met is so under-resourced, and I'm sure the police all across the country, for instance, forensics, right, that can actually prove a case, sometimes takes a year to come back. And after a year, the victim no longer wants to partake, it's no longer in the public interest, and that lets them off, right? So the collection of evidence is taking too long. Domestic abuse trial cases are supposed to be prioritized. And dealt with extremely quickly. But I had some domestic abuse cases that were a year or two after. And this is a woman who lives with her abuser.
She could be murdered in that time.
Well, exactly, right? But it's taken too long. Other masses where it's gone to trial, a domestic abuse, and then the defendant refuses to come on the bus, right? So you've got the victim there. She psyched herself up. We're ready for trial. And because he's refused to come, and it's an imprisonable offence, you delay it. Does that the next time.
Shouldn't that be immediately penalised as guilty?
Exactly. You don't want to turn up, and they do that for low-level offences, right? Such as theft, perhaps. But for domestic abuse, where there's imprisonable, it's not fair. But for me, it's not fair on the victim.
No.
And there is such a high level of racially aggravated and religiously aggravated crime. It's too much. Usually, it is homeless people. A drunken rant, they say horrific things. A lot of it is aimed at Muslims. I don't take offense, society will deal with him. I've had to prosecute students who've said something silly, students with no criminal record, something horrific. But for me, I feel like society will deal with that person. That person's not going to get a job. They'll get kicked out of university. It was excessive.
Right. So we're wasting time on punishing people for speech and not focusing our time on serious violence.
Yeah, because that takes away time, right? And
I was in a 5-year libel lawsuit because I called someone a liar and a fraud on Twitter. 5 years.
5 years?
5 years.
And at what cost?
Me, my costs were 1.5 million.
What?
Theirs were 3.7. I
knew I should have gone into civil law.
They used the legal system against me. I won in the end because he lied on his statement of truth regarding serious harm.
Wow.
We found his lie, so he got a £1 judgment. So I ended up getting 85% of my fees back.
Oh, good.
And he's now been proven to be a fraud. But it was 5 years.
Trauma.
Over 13 tweets.
Yeah. That exactly. That's what I mean. What a waste of everyone's time and money. And I saw that a lot in the courts. And
there were a lot more costs to that when it came to health, business.
Of course,
and
mental health, I get it.
He's never getting that money back.
Yeah.
No, and how many have gone through that, right?
A lot.
And it really is the same with. So I had one case where, it's in the public domain, so I can say it. The guy was in the tube and he was very drunk, and the guy who works in the tube told him to go somewhere, and he had a foreign accent, and the guy told him, I don't understand your accent. And he got charged with...
No.
Yeah. He said, you're only saying that because of where I'm from. You wouldn't say that if I was English.
Well, no, because I understand your accent if you're English. Unless you're from Birmingham.
Yeah. But that's how silly it gets, right? And you're really, you have to seek... So I can, as a senior crime prosecutor in court, I can drop some charges at my own discretion.
Yeah.
But when it comes to religiously or racially aggravated, I need the superior's permission. It's very difficult to drop. And I think it's just gone too far, right? there are horrible people in this world who say horrible things.
Yeah.
Fine. Unless you're actually inciting violence or telling someone to go, didn't Kneecap say go and kill someone and nothing happened, go and kill an MP and nothing happened?
Where's the bar for you on this? Because I find it really tricky because I can't decide whether I'm a free speech absolutist or a free speech maximalist. I think they're slightly different.
Yes.
In that, I don't think Lucy Connolly should be in jail, and I think what she said was gross. But I think it's a waste of time.
I think what Lucy Connolly said is horrific. I'd never say it myself. And I think she would have lost a lot of friends from it. Yeah. Society would not have been kind to her. And I think, was she a counsellor? Her husband was a counsellor.
I think her husband.
Yeah. Politics wouldn't have been kind to her. And I think that's the way she should have been dealt with. She could have been called in, got a fine, a hefty fine. But it pains me to read about her and her daughter and what she went through before, because actually what people don't realise, when a defendant's in court and he's being sentenced, his past life counts a lot in mitigation. I've prosecuted many people who've just come on a boat and literally the next few days have committed crime, and their legally aid public defender would stand up and say, my client he just came on a boat and can't imagine what, incredible suffering that must be. And because he's illegal, he has to commit crime. What can he do? And he doesn't have a criminal record. Of course he doesn't, right?
Yeah.
And that has to be
we know of.
And that has to, obviously, but that has to be taken into account, right? And she went through a lot of emotional trauma before, and I don't think she had a criminal record. I don't know, because that's not public. But no, I do think it's excessive. And then Kneecap telling people, and Kneecap have a lot more influence than she does, right? I don't know how many followers she had, if anyone was even listening to her tweet.
Maybe 500 Facebook friends or something.
Exactly. Whereas Kneecap have a serious audience, and they say go kill an MP. I've already had 2 MPs that have been killed. For me, that is serious. That's different. That's inciting someone to commit a crime.
Can you get the actual words that Kneecap said? Can you just find them up? So do you think that should be prosecuted?
I think it should, yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely do.
What about
That's different.
What about them going on stage with the Hezbollah flag?
I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because that's
the Hezbollah. Wow. That's
a terrorist organisation.
No, that's a yeah. In the Middle East, right? You carry a flag of Hezbollah in Egypt, where my parents are from. You're immediately incarcerated. They've almost eradicated homegrown terrorism, and it's moved to Britain. Because you can't get away with that.
The only good Tory is a dead Tory. Kill your local MP.
What? Come on. We've
Pretty
just
direct.
Horrific. That isn't. If someone went and killed a Conservative MP after that, he could be an accomplice, right? Because he encouraged it. And we had 2 MPs that have been killed, and I believe that wasn't prosecuted. Am I right?
No, the charges for that were dropped.
Why?
Yeah, I don't know. Or did they not? I don't. Or is it the flag charges that were dropped? He's still got he's got another hearing, because at Glastonbury he said, he invited everyone down and he said, well, we'll have a riot. I don't know. I don't know the details.
No, I don't know either.
But shame. I quite like the film.
I don't think any support of any terrorist organisation should be prosecuted to the full extent. We cannot tolerate any group that hates this country or wants to bring harm to this country, especially on our soil. And I find that madness. Hate preachers who say, death to Britain or anyone should not be tolerated in this country. And in my opinion, is if you commit a crime and you're seeking asylum, no matter how minor, that's an immediate denial of your asylum application.
We don't have enough prison cells because we have Lucy Connolly's in jail.
No, exactly. And if and then we're releasing violent criminals. If Lucy Connolly was released tomorrow and she's my neighbour, I wouldn't feel any threats.
We are not putting people in. We're not putting serious drug dealers in jail.
No.
I know this factually. I know of a guy who was caught with 0.5 kilo of cocaine, and he was given a suspended sentence because they had no places, no cells to put him in.
And a lot of defence lawyers say that, by the way.
Yes.
So they stand up and they say, it's really, I know it's a crime, but we don't have enough spaces. Surely there's places for other people that are more serious, and I, that is taken into consideration, and it undermines our whole, without law and order.
Yeah, I know.
Right? There is no country. It's anarchy. And you really break that contract between governments and people, and that's what you're seeing. I don't think many people trust the government anymore to keep them safe.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And it's so it's like, then how's this solved? Do we need a Bukele style government? Do we need prisons like Seacont, like they have in El Salvador? I mean, I've even seen them mention that we should be sending people like Ian Huntley to.
We're talking about his human rights.
Yeah,
I frankly don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. But is that what we need? More prisons, tougher prisons? Should we have, because was it 200,000 prisoners we have now? Should we not be afraid of 400,000 if it means we start to teach people that crime is punished and you will face a shit time if this happens?
Yeah, I mean, that's reform's policy, right? We're going to build more prisons. We're going to build prisons quickly. There are prisons in this country that have been built, I think, in 45 weeks, right? So it
can be done.
It can be done. The cost of a prisoner is about 52. I mean, low level, I think it's about 30 something. High levels, 52. We're going to send them abroad at half that price, right? 25.
Talk to me about that policy.
Yeah, so we're going to ship them abroad. We're going to do deals with, there's many countries that I'm sure will be very willing to take the money. We estimate it to be about 25,000, so halving it. Okay. But there'll be no choice. You know, you commit a crime in this country and you are an immigrant, you will be shipped. You can't come to this country and commit a crime. I'm sorry, that's got to stop. You know,
it's crazy talk, Laila.
I know. We've got to prioritize our human rights. People have got to feel that the government has their back. And so we'll deport them and then we'll build other ones that, so for instance, there's a prison called Oakwood Court that build like big modular ones that houses more prisoners. So the fixed costs are less. And we built those types. You know, we built Nightingale hospitals in a flash because it was a mission. It was an elite mission. Right. And we're going to make an elite mission of building more prisons, having more police and opening more courts. So you're not going to have this massive time delay there is between when you see a court to when you commit the crime. It's going to be quick. It's got to be quick.
So we need more prisons, more police, more magistrates to prosecute.
Yes.
But we'll need more prison guards.
Yeah.
We'd need a bigger probation service. All those things will have to come together.
We'd need a more effective
that as well.
Probation. I've seen, it really depends. I've seen some probation officers, some probation reports that are way too soft. I've seen some who it's their 70th offense. Yeah, it's probably shoplifting and drug possession, but they're like, you know, let's give him another chance. Another chance after 70. And we need, right now, I feel that the judicial system is very focused on what can we do for the criminal. If he's a drug addict, if he's an alcohol addict, and it doesn't focus enough on justice for the victim. And that needs to be reversed. There has to be a victim's charter. We are going to support the victim. We will make you feel like the government has got your back and is protecting you. Not the other way around. We don't want criminals going out, going, yeah, and victims crying because they didn't feel they got justice.
Well, this is why we've been in private security in Bedford. There isn't enough police and people feel unsafe.
And you're paying for it.
I'm paying for it. Yes. I'm happy to do it. It's a pilot project. I'm not going to pay for it every day of the year for the whole year. It's a pilot project to get the data, to understand what the size of the problem is and how we deal with the problem. And so we can try and evolve something around here. But I think under this Labour government, we are going to, I think couple of things are going to stand out. We're essentially building a parallel institution in Bedford, which is a privately funded to protect the interests of the people of Bedford. I think we're going to have more of that. I think we're going to get vigilante groups.
Yeah, I mean, I was Vigilante Mum because exactly that.
Tell me about that, by the way.
No, so you know, a few of my kids have been mugged, right? The first time my son was mugged near my house, I'm like, I chased after them. You know, if someone mugs your kid, you see red. You don't even think of your safety. I ran after him to the McDonald's. I called 999 and they're like, you know, we're really sorry. There's not enough resources. Someone's been stabbed down the road. And I said, surely you have enough for 2 incidents? And she said, well, do you really want to speak to the mother and tell her how we're diverting resources to your son? He got off. And then there was a spate of incidents where they were mugging my kids. They would come, they would wear balaclavas, walk around in groups of about 8. And just as they come off the tube, on the tube platform, they just take their phones, right? And my kids were petrified. Their friends were petrified. Parents didn't know what to do. And I had had enough. So at the time I had a baby, I put him in the sling and I would follow them. I knew which local estate they lived in. It wasn't far. they were wearing, of course, balaclavas, but their shoes were quite distinct.
Mm-hmm.
I went to all the shops that sell that sell these mobile phones, because there's quite a lot where I live. And nobody talks about that, by the way. And I said, if you sell these, you're an accomplice and I'm watching you. And it took a few weeks. I caught them. I fed the intel to the police, because the police said, oh, we're going to monitor the high street. And they did for 2 days.
Well, look, so when I came out and threatened the police, I came out and publicly said, if you do not fix the security in Bedford, I will. The very next day, there was 8-9 officers in the town. The PCCs came out and said, this was a pre-planned operation, blah, blah, blah. And twice now I've seen police presence. We were talking over 2 months. Once was with cameras. They were being filmed for PR, for social media, which is what a PCC would do, and not what a superintendent would do. And the other time we saw, was it about 3 cars? Because there was a guy who threatened somebody with a knuckle duster.
Exactly.
But 8 police for one guy with a knuckle duster.
Well, that was for sure. That you know.
Of course it's for show.
And that's the same with me. They came like 4 of them on a bike, patrolling, but after that they've gone. So no, of course nothing happened then. As soon as they leave, it comes back. So I managed to catch them, but again, they got their use. So they managed to apply for CBOs for that. I haven't seen them since.
Okay.
But the press called me Vigilante Mum for my efforts, and they took a photo of me in the baby carrier. But that's another thing. So the way we deal with youth crime here is almost a disservice to the youth. So it's very difficult for a youth to be incarcerated. Whether you agree with it or not, they are being used by organized crime to do things because they know that they can get away with it.
Modern day slavery.
Yeah, but yes.
Do you know the actual process? Because I got told about this week.
No, tell me.
So I asked why. So the drug dealing is really obvious, right? You see it. It's predominantly young black lads who have been exploited around our area. I haven't, not been a racist, I just haven't seen a young white lad. I'm sure there are. They're on e-bikes or scooters. They turn up. They do. Look, it's so obvious. I see it. We've seen it loads of times. So if I can see it, the police can see it and arrest. And I asked why, and they said there is a process. If they arrest them, they will be put into remand prison. They'll be questioned. They will say they're a victim of modern day slavery. They've been bullied by older lads above. They will then get a visit from the Salvation Army. If the Salvation Army will say this is true, they're a victim, they will be released and more often than not given a house, which they will then deal from. That's the simplified. I'm sure it's much more nuanced, but that's the simplified version.
Not that nuanced, to be honest.
But that point on modern day slavery actually is a bigger point. Is that every criminal seems to know the rules and pushes the limit. So if you know you won't get prosecuted for stealing £200 stuff, you'll go into Greggs and fill a bag with sausage rolls, or you'll go into our local Sainsbury's and you'll steal a stack of meat and some chocolate. They know they can get away with that. And the people who are drinking in our St. Peter's Square, they know they don't get moved on until they're drunk and disorderly, so they stay there, and they know the police really just come once every month.
But even if they do get moved on, it doesn't matter.
They'll come back the next day.
Yeah.
And so it seems like we all know the rules and play by the rules and have to play by the rules. They all know the rules and how not to, what they can push up against. And so it just creates this system where everyone just takes the piss. It just takes the piss.
And so they know it just from their defense lawyers, right? So,
yes.
So for instance, let's say you go and you hit someone. That's common assault. That's a summary only offence. Can only be dealt with in the magistrates, and it's up to a year's imprisonment.
Okay.
If you punch someone and call him a Muslim someone, it becomes racially aggravated, right? It becomes either way, which means the criminal picks whether he wants Crown Court or magistrates, right? Most of them pick the Crown Court because it's a 2-year delay, right? Any immigration or deportation proceedings are stayed until all your immigration matters are dealt with. And by the time 2 years pass, the victim's moved, the victim no longer partakes, the case collapses, right? And so when that's the one thing, perhaps I agreed with Labour when they said they want to reduce either way offences, and Jenrick came up and said, oh, they're removing our right to a jury. But not everyone has a right to a jury. It depends how serious your offence is. So he misunderstood the criminal justice system. But for me, it should be the judge that decides. I don't think it should be, and you hear the defence lawyers talking to them, it's definitely pick Crown Court. It's going to take 2 years. You might not get anything, and you can't be deported. And in the meantime, because it's not an imprisonable offence, because they don't have a criminal record, some of them, they're released on bail and they're never to be seen again.
There must be a way of expediting this stuff. Like Bukele's way was you have tattoos, you're going to jail. That's a bit too much.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to do that. But then how do we expedite the prosecution of obvious crime?
You have to prioritise it. It has to be a priority, right? I feel like right now the priority, for instance, in London is to punish motorists. And you can see he's come down hard on it, right? You don't pay the ULEZ, you're getting a ticket the next day.
25 in a 20.
Yeah, and it goes up and it goes up. It's a priority. So I make damn sure that I've paid my ULEZ if I go into central London.
Hasn't he built bike lanes all the way down the embankment that emergency vehicles can't get down? See if that's
Perhaps.
true. He's an idiot.
He's also, but that's what I mean. He's prioritized it, right? And everyone follows it. Everyone knows that if you don't do it, you're going to get punished. I want to see that kind of priority to crime.
When's he up for re-election?
Too long. 3 years.
I'm wondering who would run against him.
You need someone who's a Londoner. That's all, who really cares about London. Loads of people could run. I don't know if he's going to run again.
I hope he doesn't.
I heard he wants to be an MP, but...
Do you want to be?
Yeah, it'd be an honour to be an MP, right? To represent an area and to represent all those people. I mean, it's an honour to be a councillor.
Yes.
It really is. And I say this, when someone writes to me with an issue...
I think this was 2024.
14 constituencies counted.
But there's so many more than 14.
I don't know who Susan Hall is.
There's so many more than 14, though.
Robert Howard has now gone to Advance.
Oh, he has? He's gone to Advance?
Howard Cox.
I've never met Howard Cox.
Con, can you just search for something? I'm not making an accusation here. But can you just search for London mayoral election voter corruption? I'm no accusation here. I'm just wondering if there's any work been done to investigate things I've heard. I'm so worried about getting arrested for thought.
I think. Well, ridiculous. Isn't that ridiculous that you're saying that?
Bots misleading URLs cause voter confusion. No, I'm thinking more like...
You're thinking, remember that mayor? I think it was in Tower Hamlets.
Yeah.
There was a mayor that was caught with electoral fraud.
Mm.
And I think it was Tower Hamlets.
Yeah. Tower Hamlets election fraud mayor removed from office. An East London mayor has been removed from office and a poll declared void after he was found guilty of electoral fraud. An election commission concluded that Tower Hamlets mayor Lutfer Rahman breached election rules and must vacate. What did he do? In the election, he said the effective... doesn't actually say. Corrupt and illegal practices. I've heard there are more people voting. I heard there's votes that don't exist being cast for people that don't exist being cast. I'm just saying I've heard it.
I mean, I ran a local election. It's not difficult because if you've moved, you're still on the electoral roll until you tell the council. So you could stay on the electoral roll, right? Unless you register somewhere else. But some people move and don't register.
So you could have run as an MP, or are you allowed to talk about that? I want to talk to you about one of my sponsors, Incogni. And that means we're going to talk about the weird world of spam. And I don't just mean those spam emails that you get day after day from companies you've never heard of and companies you've never signed up to. I'm also talking about those spam phone calls you get from those people who seem to know a little bit too much about you, trying to get your bank details. It's all a bit creepy, right? Now, this all comes from the world of data brokerage. There are companies out there collecting your data, building profiles, and sending that data to anyone who wants it, which is why when one of those scammers phones you up, they seem to know everything about you. Now, I've tried myself to get off these lists, try to get off the phone list, try to get off the email list. I'm subscribed from every one of these emails that comes in, but this game of whack-a-mole, it just never ends. And so this is where Incogni comes in. They do all the hard work for you. They reach out to these companies and they will get you legally removed from these lists. And I know because the last time they sponsored my show, I signed up and I didn't take the free option that they offered me. I wanted to pay for it. I wanted to see if you get value for money. And they removed me from 79 data broker lists. And so I've stayed on. I've stayed a subscriber, and I have seen a massive decrease in the number of emails and phone calls I've been getting. So it's a great service. I recommend you check it out. If you're sick of this like I was, please head over to incogni.com/Peter and sign up. If you use the code Peter, you will get a lovely 60% discount. So that's incogni.com/Peter.
I've only been in the party for a month, right? The thing is, listen, it would be an honour to run as an MP, but it's 4 years down the line. I think there's a lot. What I really want to talk about, Peter, are your concerns.
My concerns. Okay.
Because you said you basically support, and I want to address your concerns.
So we have to either have massive growth, or we have to have massive cut in spend, or ideally both. Right now, we spend more on debt interest than we do on education. I think we're dumbing down our nation. And when people, when parties are approached, whether it's Zia or Nigel, said, okay, how are you going to cut costs? You've got unfunded spending plans. How are you going to do it? And they always talk about closing quangos. That isn't enough. Like, how are we? Can you get that OBR split on the where we spend money? Where's it? Where's all the cuts going to come from? Because Nigel did kind of oppose some of the cuts that the Labour Party wanted to do, such as the 2-child cap.
Not some, just the one.
Well, and the winter fuel payments.
Yeah.
So both of those are seen as chances to reduce the welfare burden on the country, and he opposed them both. And it just felt like there was a period where Nigel was trying to oppose what the Conservatives would say and the Labour, and just try and get every vote. And I don't think that's what people want from him.
I don't think that's what he meant. Okay. He doesn't. Nigel doesn't need to compete with the Tories and Labour. And the reason I haven't spoken to him about it, but for me, the two-child cap benefit, we want to encourage more people to have children, right? We don't want to punish you for having children. We have a very low birth rates, and if you're working hard and you're giving back to this country, he wants to reward that, right? And he doesn't think that it should be a 2-child cap benefit. We almost want to encourage a higher birth rate. I've done my bit.
Did your bit.
But also, and in terms of the winter fuel allowance, I think that was only going to take away 1.7 billion or something. It was something ridiculous. That when we're paying 3 trillion.
But it's more of the signal.
No, I think the signal is, you don't have to punish pensioners who've worked all their life into the system, don't have any other source of income, and cannot earn any more money. You don't have to punish them while you're paying 8 million a day housing immigrants in hotels.
So
right?
What are you going to say, Con?
I was going to say, if you're giving back to the country, then you're not taking benefits then.
No, but you can, if you're giving back to the country and you need help, because as we said, salaries aren't growing as fast as asset prices are. Right? So if you're working hard and you're still struggling and you actually have more than 2 children, we don't feel that you should be punished.
But
for
if you can't afford it, you shouldn't be having more than 2 kids.
I should have thought about that.
It's pretty wise, that boy.
Yeah, speaking to someone with 7.
Yeah.
I think it's always good to have children. We have low birth rate right now, and I don't think that's good. I mean, China's booming because they got rid of their was it 1 child, 2 child?
Do you think that policy affects people's decision to have children?
No, but it's a signal that we support families.
But you can do that in other ways.
Like?
I don't know, support. If you want to support things, it's I quite liked the marriage tax benefit that used to exist. I think,
and you have it in America.
Yeah,
and I don't mind that either, because I believe in marriage. I believe in a family unit.
Yeah.
But essentially, you can't grow a nation, right, by expanding benefits. So forget the winter fuel allowance. We've expanded benefits to such a massive degree. I don't know. We have 9 million people out of work who could work, and I think we should focus on breakthroughs. Technological breakthroughs, reskilling our adults, like in tech skills, which we don't. And you can actually be immobile and disabled and still be a data analyst from home, or a coder, or a UX designer.
Can't be a coder anymore.
Well, no, you don't need it.
You've gone to AI.
But everyone should be AI native.
But that is
our kids should be AI native, but they're not.
Well, that's a huge additional pressure that's coming down the line. So Connor quit uni in his first year, came to work for me. Brilliant decision. Got a great boss. But he's been a great. Yeah, he's learned on the job. He's basically joined the farm, and it's worked out well from him.
Dream. I'd love my children to work with me.
In your cohort of friends, Con, they're all finishing uni now, right? Have they talked about the jobs market? What it's like?
It's very difficult.
Very
There's
difficult.
not a lot of jobs out there.
Yeah.
But they're also very uneducated into why. They blame certain groups and people for the reasons when it's actually, I think, all downstream from Westminster. People are closing businesses. We're losing a bunch of jobs to companies going overseas. Yes, there's many factors, but that is a huge one. It's not all immigration, because actually...
No. It's not all immigration at all. In fact, for skilled labor and university graduates, it's companies leaving. It's the government making it hard for companies to operate. I don't think we should have a 24% corporation tax. I think you should have less corporation tax.
Ireland told us that.
Huh?
Ireland told us that.
Yeah, because I think, you should be open for business and do whatever it takes to attract business. I was heartbroken when AstraZeneca's leaving. Some of our big tech unicorns are going to list in New York. That's not a coincidence. They're deliberately abandoning the UK. I don't know if you saw yesterday, was it a nuclear company that was meant to build here is going to France? When when France and Europe become more business friendly than us, the reason why we left the EU, that the government's failed young people. And I know that from my kids and some of my nieces and nephews, they're intrinsically socialist, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's because when you go to university, you go with the promise that you're going to end up with a great job, and then you don't. And you're like, well, hang on, I really need help, and I'm just going to vote for the person who's going to give me the most help.
I think that's a big problem. A lot of them have been lied to and said, you've got to lead this path, get these grades, and go to uni and do this, and then there's a magic job waiting for you at the end. And it's just not true.
And it's I've spoken to a few people in their 20s. It's quite a shift, because you go from like a student, right, with so much hope and your parents' support, to suddenly being unemployed. It's a huge shift in who you are. You go out and you're like, oh, where are you? Oh, I go to university, I'm studying this. A month later, you're like, what do you do? Oh, I'm unemployed.
Well, the thing is...
It's a big shift.
University is a waste of time for most people.
Yeah.
It always was, even more so now, because of it's the skills that you have. This was my point for Connor. It's
skill, yeah.
If he was just finishing university now
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to get a job, he has no experience. He's just had 3 more years of schooling. And by the way, I think university on most courses is easier than A-levels. A-levels are it depends. You become a doctor, maybe not. But Connor's CV now is he's worked for 2 years, year and a half as the producer on a podcast about politics, economics, governance. He's edited publisher shows.
Wow.
He's helped. We own a football club. He's vice chairman. He's helped run that. He's done all the distribution for the store we have online. Like he's got a stacked CV.
Yeah.
If that CV, and I'm not just being biased because my son, if that CV, and it could be a completely different business. It could be that I don't know. I've got my cafe and I'm looking for a manager. If that CV comes in and the next one says I've been at university for 3 years, he wins every time.
Yeah.
He's had an apprenticeship, which is way more valuable. He's lived in the real world. He's been exposed to the P&L, the sales, everything.
Yeah.
And I just think we are lying to these kids. We're putting them into university and they're coming out into a world where the jobs don't exist because the economy is fucked, but also because AI has taken all of these jobs.
AI has taken over.
Taken all of these jobs.
And you know what kills businesses? It's not competition, it's complacency.
Yes.
Right? And that's what's killed this country. We've been complacent. We're the least automated country in the G7 because the Tories relied on cheap labour to fund our farms, our industry. The NHS could rely so heavily on AI. I went to a Google tech conference where like MRIs and X-rays could be, you could get your diagnosis instantly. My sister had cancer. Waiting for that MRI scan a week until the consultant saw it was the most painful week of our lives.
Yep.
But we haven't. And, Labour's worse because they've given into all the trade union demands, some in the rails. So we don't bring in technology.
By the way, those new rules that Angela Rayner wants to bring in, where trade unions can go and deliver their propaganda directly into your business. Have you seen all this?
I haven't seen that.
Oh,
no.
it's fucking crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Angela Rayner is a communist. And
But I think they all are. Didn't Keir say before the election, I'm a socialist?
I think he did, yeah.
I think he actually said those words.
He doesn't have to tell me that. It's very clear. But they can now have access to all your work communications. I mean, this stuff is crazy shit. As somebody who runs a business, this is crazy. But even worse, we're going to lose these people to other countries. The brain drain exists.
Of course.
I went out to Argentina and we made a film, me and Kurt, and we met with families. And one of the saddest things is Argentina is a very family-based culture. Mm-hmm. So many youngsters left because there was no opportunity.
Right.
I don't know the opportunity for kids in our country because there's no jobs and they can't get a house and they're constantly being attacked and told they're a problem.
Yeah.
But why would you stay here when you can go to Australia? And Australia's still great. You can go to Dubai. You can go to all these other places where there's opportunity. There's nothing here.
Nothing here. And there, I know. And then jobs, in Britain also, we have governments that are deliberately driving energy prices up.
Yes.
Yeah. You can't have a successful country if you have high energy prices. You just can't. And history has shown that if you don't have abundant, reliable access to energy and affordable, you can't succeed. But that's what they've done. So, as I said before, we're exporting our pollution and importing all our goods. But it's mad. It's mad. It is. And we're not saving the planet, by the way, because, we may have been the first country to decarbonize and spend a week without carbon. But Russia and India increased their carbon production by 40%. If you wanted to destroy a country, slowly but surely,
you'd elect Keir Starmer.
And the Conservatives.
Yeah, the Conservatives, I know, I admit.
They just virtue signal.
Yeah.
It's just all virtue signaling and there's no path, there's no clear industrial strategy. What are we going to do? We should rely on what we're good at. We're good at defense. We have a strong defense industry and we should be championing that to the max. Like Rolls-Royce want to build SMRs, we should, give them all the help they want. We need to lead. And see, I believe in abundance. Mm-hmm. We always hear of how can we save? We need to have an abundance outlook on life because we have the best universities, some of the best universities in the world. We were the land of innovation and technology, but we're not. I mean, I remember the name, but in 1958, it was Eisenhower who created what was it called, DARPA?
Yes.
Yeah, to fuel U.S. technology and defense. Right. And from that, I think they got the internet, so many microprocessors. And we need that. We need the government to really take our skills, what we do, excellence.
Create excellence. We need to
focus on. I want a party that says, you know what, we are going to focus on excellence. We're going to be excellent in everything we do.
But they're not that.
It's managed decline.
Yes, they will bring in VAT on private schools because of the green monster that sits inside the people and think, they're all rich, they can do it. I know plenty of middle class people who are literally working second jobs or scraping by to put their kids through private school. I know people who've taken their kids out of private school now because of VAT fees, because that 20% came on top of 40% since COVID. It's just unaffordable. And so we're taking excellence away there. And look, whatever people want to say, private schools are very good at teaching and very good at education. So we've got rid of that. I saw today that BBC article where it said they're only going to employ working class people in the civil service. I mean, so we actually...
That makes me so angry.
It's social engineering. It's leftist social engineering, which is saying there's not a meritocracy because of your parents, you're not allowed to go for that job. I mean, it's just communist nonsense.
But also, what gives them the right to decide that? I'm paying those salaries.
Yes.
You are paying those salaries. I want excellence.
Yes.
I want the best person in the job. That's it. Because we have a ballooning public sector.
Yeah, but you know why they're doing it.
And a declining productivity that is lagging behind because of the public sector.
But they're not doing this just because they feel sorry for working class kids. They're doing this to create a system that perpetuates itself. That's exactly why they're doing this. They want to, I fundamentally believe they want to create a large vote. This is why I think they want to change the voting age to 16-year-olds. I'm sorry, but if you allow 16, 17-year-olds to vote, you're going to swing the vote one way.
Gerrymandering.
Yes, it's just. I mean, I would raise the age.
Yeah. No.
Sorry, Con. I would raise the age. You could vote now. 21.
No, I agree. Most 21s are idiots.
You're ready.
So
Do you agree with me?
When I was running for council, I knocked on someone's door, and he was the known. How can I say? He was the known drug distributor in the area, right? Yeah. So not many people knocked on his door. So I knocked on his door and I said, I'm running for the Tories. My name's Laila. I'm local. And he goes, I'm not voting for you. He looks me up and down. He says, I need those benefits. I'm not voting for you. And I said, well, listen, can we have a chat? And he was actually a really nice guy. And we sat down, and I spent a few times with him. So I'd meet him and we'd have a chat at his doorstep. And I'd explain to him, it's this perpetual cycle. I'm like, they're almost drug dealers, right? So they want you to rely on benefits. So you're never successful. So you're always going to vote Labour, right? I want to give you the tools to be successful yourself. That is the role of government. And we sat, and it was quite a philosophical discussion. And I kid you not, the morning of polling day, he had a few of his friends to vote for me. And literally, he was telling everyone, F-U-C-K Labour, I'm voting for Laila.
Fuck Labour.
Yeah, exactly. He said, fuck Labour, I'm voting for Laila. And it just showed me that actually people do want to rely on themselves.
Of course they do.
But
they're being taught lies. This is the problem. We're teaching lies. Or we're gaslighting people into thinking, that person over there, a successful person over there, they're the problem.
They're taking the money. They're hoarding the money.
Yeah, Gary Government. Sorry, Gary Economics. I call him Gary Government. All he does is perpetuate the same message. He is teaching people that you can't be successful. You're never going to be. You're always going to be poor, and it's the rich person's fault. No, it's not.
Or the government will take care of you. Don't worry.
Yeah, the government's got your back.
What did Reagan say? The worst thing, the scariest thing to hear in politics is, "Hello, I'm from the government. I'm here to help." Yeah. And it's true.
Well, I like what he used to say about, and it's Thatcher, the idea that, my favourite Reagan thing was who he said recently, there's no such thing as a tax on business. Every tax on the business is a tax on the individual at the end.
Exactly.
So he was good.
People have to ask that whatever the government's going to give, right? They've got to pay for it,
yes.
right?
So this is where it just gets. This is where I look and I'm like, well, look, okay, health and social care, 190 billion, education, 88 billion, that should be higher. Defense, 37 billion, other public services, 137 billion, investment, 72 billion. Although that, I'd be interested in what they're investing in and what their track record is.
I bet you it's some green investment.
They should have just bought Bitcoin. Pensioner spending, I think we all know the triple lock's too high. Universal credit keeps people out of the job system. How much of this is welfare? Well, how much of this is arguably socialist? So you've got other welfare, universal credit, that's about 160 billion there.
Is defense only 37?
Pensioners, so that takes us to 310 billion. Public services, 310, 410, 440
But you notice
billion.
that other spending that's not declared is the biggest by 3 times.
Yeah.
What the hell is that exactly?
Connor, can you put that in ChatGPT and say, what the hell is
What the hell is other spending?
Is that that's probably some of the stuff that Charlotte Gill posts about.
Yeah. I mean, other spending, and you see it's triple everything else. Yeah. It's 10 times what we spend on defense.
Okay, I want to ask you about Islam.
Okay, but any other concerns?
I want to hear policies.
Fine.
I want to see policies. I want to see, because my worry is they'll come in and go and find they can't cut anything and they can't drive growth and realize it's just too difficult. You
met Nigel?
Yeah. I've interviewed Nigel twice.
Have you seen? I think he goes into adverse situations head on.
Yes.
He doesn't take no for an answer. I mean, we've got Brexit. Zia doesn't take no for an answer. They are determined, and that's what they're not just determined. So the reason why I switched to Reform actually is because I found the other parties, everything they did was party political, right? So even like the Conservatives, when they took away non-dom, like it or loathe it, right? They did it to beat Labour. They knew it wasn't good for the country. They knew they'd be a mass exodus. I knew because I was part of the discussions in CCHQ, right? They knew it was bad, but they said, Labour's going to do it. Let's outflank them. And that is not that is the main difference of Reform, is nobody's part of Reform because they want to be part of Reform, right? Everyone's part of Reform because they want to make this country better, right? If Reform totally changed its policies and became like Labour and Tory, I think people would leave. And that's the difference. Whereas everyone, no matter how bad the Tories are, no matter how bad Labour are, they're still there. And that's the difference. Everyone there, and I know this sounds corny, everyone's a patriot, and when you speak to people there, they're like, you know what, there's an excitement, there's a drive for the country. Nobody talks about the party itself. It all stems from how can we make it better? How can we make it not even better, the best it can be?
It's very important that you don't lose this, okay? This is your inheritance through Bitcoin.
Let Bitcoin rip. Don't rip up your Bitcoin. Set up inheritance with Casa.
Well, look, I'm going to be 50 in 3 years, okay, and I've worked my arse off for will have been 30 odd years at that point. I will be able to retire if I want.
Lucky.
Well, I don't want to because I like working, but I could get to the point and go, I've had enough. And if Labour win another election, I'm almost certainly going to leave.
Do you know how many people have told me that?
Because I just know, we're already cooked. The next 3 years are going to be hell, but I'm going to wait till the next election. And it's either going to be a reformed Conservative Party that win the election, or it's going to be Reform. I think it'll probably be Reform. And then there's going to be a period of time where I go, okay, let's see what happens. Is the country actually going to be safer? Are we going to have more police? Are we going to have fairer systems? Are we going to drive growth? Are we going to reduce red tape? Are we going to reduce the welfare bill? It is such a big job. I mean, if Nigel gets it right, he will go down in the history books as a legend of a prime minister. And if he doesn't, and it's more of the same, I'll be gone. I know others will be gone. Because why would I stay in a place that's unsafe for my children with little opportunity, where I'm paying through the nose on tax for public services I barely use and constantly fearing for our safety?
Yeah, so that also you will see a massive, it will be so radical because everyone in Reform are almost reluctant politicians, right? So I knew I'd probably lose my job at the CPS if I joined Reform, and I really did, right? And there's
you lost your job where you were like, you should probably go.
Well, they called me in for a disciplinary meeting the following day after the article.
Just for joining?
Well, in the article I said, let me just address your concerns about Reform, right? And we have the best of the brightest working. So I've been contacted by really the best people in the country, and so has other people. I want to help. I want to give you my time. So we're building the most phenomenal team, again, that are, and I think that's the key, they're not career politicians. I think you have, it's almost like the Trump administration. They are people who actually probably have a better life and a better earning outside of politics, but have chosen to do this for the country.
But the problem is the Trump administration was seen as this great hope. And there are people who are now very critical of them because what's happened.
The big, beautiful bill.
The big, beautiful bill. Borrowing is massively increasing. The Epstein thing is just weird and just, they were promised something and then they weren't. Yeah, cash.
The dollars crashed.
The dollars crashed.
But he has got some things right. Immigration, which is, I think, the most salient. But I think
the economy is moving.
Yeah, and isn't inflation down there as well?
I don't know, but I saw was it 3% growth?
Yeah.
And by the way,
hang on, 3% a lot.
Yeah, I think it's 3%. I saw, but I think that's what Pump tweeted the other day. But the
immigration's down to very, very the lowest I think since the 1960s.
Yes,
and that was quick.
Yeah,
I mean, Labour's been in power for a year. They came in promising to smash the gangs. It's doubled under them. So
yeah, but the MAGA crowd is.
No, I'm not saying MAGA.
Yeah.
I'm not MAGA. I'm just saying, I'm just saying that it can be done.
No, you missed. Sorry, my point being is the MAGA crowd is now having their doubts. The Epstein thing's a big thing, right?
I don't follow it that closely, to be honest.
Well,
I know that he was meant to release the files and he didn't,
and now he isn't, and it just looks odd. But
luckily, we don't have those issues.
Well, we have rape crisis.
No, oh yeah. I mean, again, another reason why I defected, by the way, is because when I heard about the rape gangs, I'd heard about them before, but when all those details came out, consciously, I'm a mother of daughters. I could not be part of any party. And let's be clear, Conservatives sat on it as well.
Because
they knew just as well. I heard that Victoria Aitkins told the Telford MP, don't get involved in things you don't understand. Right? I read that in an article somewhere. Right? They knew. Right? They didn't order a national inquiry like they're asking Labour to do now. These aren't new crimes. Yeah? Some of them are 20 years old. And it really actually makes me very angry the way that Conservatives seem to gaslight us and make it seem like, they're on the right side of history. They're not. They're on the wrong side of history. And I couldn't be part of any party that sat on that. It is the most disgusting, deplorable thing. And to not be able to say that they were Pakistani men for fear of whatever, or to keep your vote, and now we hear, I think, policemen, their counsellors knew, their policemen knew, and to keep that secret.
Do you see this accusation came out this week that some of the girls were abused raped by policemen?
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on?
What is going on?
What is going on?
What is going on? How can, these are our girls.
Yeah.
These are our girls.
Some of them are younger than my daughter.
So these are our girls, and I know how susceptible girls that age are. I know how vulnerable they are, and to even just sit on it and to not do anything. It makes me want to protest in the streets. It really did at some point. I couldn't believe it, and I could never defend a party that had any knowledge of it.
I think we should throw in jail anyone who sat on it.
I agree. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting, and for me, it's the biggest blemish on our country.
Yeah. Did you find something there, by the way, on what the other spending was?
Transport, housing, environmental protection, public order and safety, culture.
Oh,
And
Charlotte
recreation.
will get into the culture and recreation one.
That's the gay porn that Europe built.
Yeah.
Or the pig stuff.
Overseas aid.
I love Charlotte.
You know what else? Yeah, she's great. I don't know her, but I follow her on Twitter. You know what else is incredible? How much are they giving overseas? You say about the cutting the pension, the fuel tax. Anyway, and they're giving 12 billion in foreign aid for climate projects. What? You've got to be kidding me, right? While you're cutting the allowance for pensioners, and then you want to put a 2-child benefit cap, yet you're giving 12 billion. It's like a slap on the face.
Didn't Lammy go out and give some project to Malaysia?
I mean, exactly. Also, I know.
He's an idiot.
Do we even know how they spend it? That just lines politicians' pockets in third world countries. Who supervises that? Every penny, because that's my money, right? Every penny. They should spend our money like it's theirs.
Well, that's what Thatcher said. Thatcher said the government doesn't have any money. We only have your money.
Exactly, and they should spend it as if their life depends on it.
Yes.
No, it's not there to. It's not there for international fame or to sit in Davos and say we did this. No, that's not what they're elected for. But that's what they do it for.
Right. I want to talk to you about Islam.
Fine.
Okay. So I've got questions. So you coming into the party as a Muslim, I've got no doubt you've taken some shit. Just because you
online is special.
Yes, it's okay.
CUNT and Muslim before that.
Yes.
Kind of like my nickname on some Twitter account.
And I've seen Zia get it as well.
Yeah.
And then we see the comments on our YouTube. And there is a spectrum from, I think we have a problem with immigration in this country, we need to deal with it, to we should deport all illegal immigrants, to we should have mass deportations, to we need to get rid of all the brown people. Like, it's a full spectrum from rational migration policy to racism. And I'm not excusing the racism, but they're coming from a similar point of the migration people, and that they're fed up at something that's happened. I think it's very easy. It's like, we're not going to remove every Muslim from the country. But you, as a Muslim, where have we failed in this country?
Yeah.
With integrating people who are Muslim, and what can we get better? Because there are, wasn't there a job posted for somebody in Sharia law? And apparently we have 760 odd Sharia law courts in the country, which seems to me a bit weird. The only law should be
Not
the UK.
Weird. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's outrageous. But we have and also there's this. With the Manchester, the violent criminals, there was a fear that if you have Muslims in the jury, they would vote with their religion rather than based on the facts. And then that extends itself to people saying, well, areas that become predominantly Muslim, they will vote for Muslim councillors and Muslim MPs, and they'll start to shift the balance of the country. Now, you're a very British Muslim, but based on everything I've said there, what should we be doing better?
So I think what happened is, Labour and Tories, they failed to build a civic national pride, in our history, in our values, and nationalism. Being a nationalist is almost a dirty word, right? In our pride, in our history, in our shared values. We don't demand that from people that come here. We almost are like, we're so politically correct, we're going to let them to get on with their lives. That, for me, is completely wrong, right? I remember I went on an interview and someone told me, you're Muslim, so, and I know you must know people who wear the burqa. I know nobody wears the burqa. Nobody in my family wears the burqa. That is not Islam.
Isn't that even banned in some Muslim countries?
Yeah, it's not Muslim. It's a Wahhabism. It's a form, it's a tradition, a very extreme, prohibitive tradition that came out of Saudi. And it is a form of control, right? There's nothing in the Quran that says you should cover your face. It says you should be modest, right? And take it as you will, right? I don't believe in the burqa, and I definitely don't know anyone who does. And
so do you agree with the ban?
So as I said, I've had an issue with banning people, but I don't believe we should see burqas on our streets. I really don't. I have an issue with all face coverings, right? So if I'm going to tell someone, don't wear a balaclava, and I'm going to search you, it's got to be the same. You can, and I've said this to someone else, you cannot afford Muslims or any group more priority or more benefits than another group. And in fact, the more you give to Muslims, the more people like me are resented, and it makes us more angry.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I tell you why. So when I saw the question of like, should we ban the burqa in House of Commons, I felt it was a shitty question because I own establishments. I'm going to be more fearful of a guy with a motorcycle helmet than I am going to be somebody with a burqa. I'm going to be more fearful of a 18-year-old with a face covering than somebody with a burqa.
The problem is you don't know who's behind that burqa.
True, but just my experience, I've never walked into an issue of somebody with a burqa. And I'm not saying they haven't been used.
Yeah.
One of the 7/7 bombers escaped in a burqa.
Yeah.
But if it's an
Did
issue...
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It's worth watching the Netflix. Was it Netflix or BBC did a series? I think it was Netflix. It's worth watching. But if it's an issue of public safety, then it's all face coverings. My issue with the burqa, it looks like a tool of oppression.
So yes, and I think in some ways it is. Perhaps in some ways the woman wants to. I don't know. I really don't know. As I said, I don't know anyone that wears the burqa. But all I know is that you shouldn't be allowed to hide your face and who you are when you walk in our streets, right? It's not fair on those other people. And then I've had a woman in a burqa in the dock while I was in court, actually. And it was a judge with me. And I asked the judge, can we please, I don't know who I'm prosecuting. Can we please ask her to remove the burqa? And some of the evidence was relying on like CCTV. And she goes, no, Madam Prosecutor, these are religious sensitivities. We can't ask her. And I stood up, I said, even when my parents are from in Egypt, you cannot wear it in government buildings because they were having the husbands sit for the driving tests or certain exams for their wives, right? it's just common sense.
Yeah.
And so, no, I had to basically prosecute. No idea who it was. She could keep the burqa. For me, that is ridiculous, and it undermines our criminal justice system. In terms of integration, right? Yeah. What was your other question? Sorry.
Well, it's just abroad. Like, where have we failed? Because it feels like we have.
Well, we allowed madrasas.
Well, so it feels like we have had radical people radicalized in this country who've blown up tubes, who've attacked people in Borough Market with machetes. We've had this radical side of Islam, and then we have yourself as a British Muslim, and it feels like there's large numbers of people in this country will throw you all into one bucket, and you now have to face shit because of other people's behavior. We've heard about these Sharia courts. We've heard about regions that are predominantly Muslim, which will vote in councillors and MPs. So it's really two questions. Yeah. Where have we failed on integration? And actually, is there a risk in that we've given too much leeway, too much defense of Islam at the expense of domestic British citizens?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely. I mean, you see it. You talk about the voting bloc. I mean, there is a reason why those Pakistani rape gangs were ignored.
Yes,
right.
Labour voters.
Exactly, and they were predominantly in Labour areas where there was a high percentage of Pakistani voters. Right. Yes, people will argue there are white sexual offenders. Yes, of course there are. But what we're really talking about is the fact that the connection, what connected them all, was that they were predominantly Pakistani, right? And nobody pointed that out. And nobody pointed that out for various reasons. I do believe some were political.
Well, some pointed it out, and they were told to shut up.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. It wasn't at the top that it was pointed out, right? So we let these girls down in the most horrific way. Second of all, and then you see Labour trying to bring in this Islamophobia law, which number one, we have religiously aggravated offences. It exists. It is just pandering to a vote bloc, right? We don't need, as I said, if you go and call someone a Muslim something, right? I don't believe you should, but you will be prosecuted for hate crime. That's it. I think West Streeting put a tweet saying, we just want to protect people if someone pulls their their veil down. That's assault. You just touch someone, that is assault. And if it's because of their religion, it's religiously aggravated. These things exist, right? And there's a sentencing uplift if it's religiously aggravated. There is absolutely no need to bring in an Islamophobia law. There really isn't. There's no anti-Christian law. We have to have the right to be offended and to offend.
By the way, that's the thing that blew my mind, because when I first heard about it, it was blasphemy laws. And we looked it up and it's like, but they're only talking about Islam in these laws.
Exactly.
So what?
Exactly. And I think people should be very angry about that. And I had a debate with Barry Gardner on GB News, and he said, and then we discussed Sharia courts, right? And he said, surely, I said, absolutely, there should be no parallel laws in this country. We have a strong judicial system. So many companies, when they write contracts, they defer their contracts to UK courts for a reason, right? There is no reason for any kind of Sharia law in this country. This is not, if you want Islamophobia laws and you want a Sharia court, there are loads of countries that you can go to. This is not one of them. You should not be here, right? And then I actually asked him, I said, Barry, and then he mentioned canon law. I said, well, maybe canon law does exist, but this is intrinsically a Christian country, right? If there is canon law, I've not come across it. It's been here for hundreds of years, right? You don't come to this country and try and impose your own laws. And I said, so are you for Sharia courts? He said, yes, in some instances. So that's Labour's position.
What?
Yeah. He said, I am, you can watch it. It was with Jubes and Co.
Honestly.
He said, yes, and so I don't understand why they do it. I don't
understand the Labour Party or their voters anymore. I think they're utterly deranged in the things they're doing. They don't recognise the impact of the things they're saying. And by the way, the speed at which
they messed up, the speed at,
they
went hard and fast.
Yeah, I mean, but the whole front bench is.
I didn't think they'd go that hard and that fast.
It's the speed of which narratives are sold. So the speed at which a wealth tax came in play, and every influencer politician was saying the exact same thing. Gary Government came out of nowhere and became this kind of thing. And then this week, when we've had the online safety bill, which is utterly stupid, I managed to break it in about 8 seconds on my phone. Okay, some of the browsers got built-in VPNs. But the whole narrative is that if you don't support the online safety bill, you're against the protection of children.
You're a predator.
From the same party who covered up rape gangs.
Exactly that. Exactly that. And by the way, in that same debate, I had a debate about the online safety bill. He kept on going on and on about it's for children, it's for children, it's for children. And then I said, section 44, section this, can you admit that it's for adults? And he said, yes, it is to censor adults.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that clip.
He literally did.
Yeah.
Right. And yet Peter Kyle, none of them are mentioning the adult bit. The only thing we've heard about the adult section is the elite task force or the elite group.
Yeah.
How dare they lie to us like that? How dare they? That's a form of censorship, right? So they're trying to not even allow us to debate it, because if you debate it, you're on the side of Jimmy Savile. They never, and that's the same with, if you protest against the hotels in Epping, you're far right.
Yeah.
You're racist.
Konstantin Kisin wrote a really great article once. He said, fine, I'm far right now.
Fine, call me. Yeah, exactly.
Call me far right.
Call me racist. I don't really care.
They've redefined far right as
normal,
as common sense.
Yeah, exactly.
They've redefined it as common sense.
Yeah.
Connor, by the way, do you think any youngsters would not know how to get around the?
Probably not.
None at all. But the speed. By the way, sorry, we should go back to the Islam thing.
Yeah.
So weirdly, I've talked to some people about this, and I said I actually think it's a really good thing that yourself and Zia are in the party as proud British Muslims, because you get a chance to represent all those people who've been demonized by the stupidity of the left and the more extreme sides of Islam.
Yeah, but it's not for me. I don't recognize the extreme side. I don't. When I see people in certain areas of the country, I don't relate to them at all.
Okay.
I just don't. I don't relate to people who call white girls scum.
Yeah.
Who we rape them because, they're meaningless.
But that's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
This is why I've said it's a good thing you're in the party, so people actually see, because I think some people have this view that Islam is just this barbaric religion.
But Peter, if I wasn't Muslim, I would also hate Muslims. If all I saw on TV, no, I'm being serious. Yeah,
No,
if all I saw on TV were the rape gangs, right? Islamists wanting to bomb the country, right? Any terrorist attacks that happened is done by Islamists. I would hate them too, because that's all you see. Of course, I hate those people.
Yeah,
because of what they're doing. And I understand it. So I'll tell you a funny story. We were looking to, my husband's American and he wanted to buy a place in Florida. And we liked the Santos at the time, and we still do. Anyway, and so we went to like deep in Florida, and we bumped into this guy who had Trump posters all over his golf cart, drinking beer while he's driving it. And we're like, so what are the mosquitoes like? Are there a lot of bugs? And he said, oh, no, you're not from England? He goes, no, don't worry about the bugs. It's the Muslims. They're the ones that are going to kill you.
Thanks, mate.
But I don't take offense, because all he sees on TV, right?
Yes.
Is what you spoke about.
Yes.
That's all you see from Muslims, really, the predominance of it. It's almost like in the 80s when we were growing up, and I think back now, it was the Russians, right? Every baddie in a movie was a Russian, and now every baddie is a Muslim who wants to blow something up.
Well, this is the problem we've had with Bedford, in that when I keep telling people the problems, they keep saying, well, it's because you've imported too many Muslims. I keep saying, our problem in Bedford isn't Muslims. We've actually had a large... we've been a very multicultural town. As long as I've lived, we've had large Indian community, large Italian community. Our problem is domestic white crackheads. That's our biggest problem in our town, and they can't accept it. They go, no, it's Muslims. I'm like, I fucking live there. I know the problem we have in this town, but people want to say this is the only problem.
So, but there is a problem, right? There is a problem when you have a huge group of people that come here who don't love this country, in fact, want to change it and want to impose their values. That is a problem. And I think people are sick of it, right? Because they feel that they're growing in influence.
Well, they are.
Well, in certain areas,
I mean, if we're getting Islamophobia laws and cover-ups,
exactly,
there's influence.
Exactly. Quite a large amount of influence, right? And it's at the massive detriment of British people. And people aren't happy, and rightly so. And any group that is so strong and so vocal and commands so much power is a problem. And people should be upset, and they let me down, and it's a blemish on my community.
Is it a hard balance there for you to strike then? Because a lot of Reform voters are skeptical of multiculturalism.
I mean, I don't even know what multiculturalism means, to be honest. I grew up in London, where there's so many cultures. My friends were from all walks of life. I mean, I grew up in Queen's Park, Kilburn.
Talk about it as a trajectory, in that we have a growing number of people come to the country who aren't from the UK. If there was a net increase, 700k this week, 1% increase?
Exactly, and I think in the 90s it was like 19,000. Yeah. Right? So you could integrate 19,000 people, right? So when my parents came here in the 60s, there wasn't that many. We integrated. But right now you're getting so many in one area. It's creating a community. I remember a journalist went around certain very Muslim areas, and some people thought there was Sharia law in this country. Right, but I mean that's the problem, and we allow that to happen. I remember under the Tories, madrasas flourished. Right, you have little girls who are veiled, and that's I feel that you have to come to this country to integrate. Like the Americans, my two stepkids, they hear the anthem while they're watching football, and they immediately put their hand on their chest. Right, that might be cringe for some. I like that. Right, I like you pledge allegiance. They pledge allegiance to the flag. I think you should pledge allegiance to your country. Right, because
to your king.
Well, I wouldn't mind a bit of country in there, but I just think you should pledge allegiance to your country. And we have so many people that are pledging allegiance elsewhere. Wasn't there an MP who was pushing for an airport in Pakistan? Yeah,
wasn't he from near us? I think he was from near us.
Yeah, we need a national integration strategy, right?
Yeah.
We need people to come here. And we need to ensure that they bring a net benefit, right? I mean, you can't go to Dubai and be like, I'm coming, but I don't have a job, I don't have a skill, I'm just going to come and chill.
Yeah, I'm going to build a church,
and you're going to pay for me, right? Exactly. And you see, right, that they have the lowest tax burden. Okay, they don't have social services, but low tax works, right? And bringing in skilled labor works. They were a desert in the 70s, but they're thriving. Everyone I know is moving there.
Yeah. A lot of slave labour helped.
A lot of slave labour.
Yeah, some passports being taken.
But we also imported a lot of cheap labour.
Oh, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's only because we had lazy people who'd rather claim benefits than do work.
Yeah.
We still had a minimum wage here.
And we allowed them also to bring dependents, right?
Yes.
that we're paying for.
Yes.
Yeah, and giving them housing. So it wasn't a net benefit in any way.
Yeah.
But I do think we need to big up the country.
Yeah.
Peter.
You speak a lot of sense, Laila. I mean, you're a crazy right-wing racist like me, but
Of course.
but no, you speak a lot of sense. I'm very interested to see how reform evolve over the next 3 years. I think one of the things a lot of people are waiting for is they're going to need 300 plus MPs.
Yeah.
And so 300 plus candidates. Where are they coming from? Who are they? I think
600, no?
Well, it's candidates, 600 candidates, but what's the majority number that they have to hit? Is it 330 or something? But
Perhaps.
Where are these 330 brilliant people who are going to come in and do it? And who are they? And I think that's...
But Labour and Tories don't have anyone either. Yeah.
They have,
we have people coming.
I like Katie Lamb. I interviewed her
I don't
recently.
know her.
Yeah, she's very good. I like Nick Timothy.
Wasn't he part of Theresa May's disastrous election?
Theresa May's?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but
wasn't he part of some disastrous electoral campaign?
I mean, if you've been in a party long enough, you're going to be part of one disaster or another if you've been in the Conservatives or whatever. And actually, we met this guy.
I think he wrote it.
Right. Okay. I don't know.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know.
But I liked the speech he gave recently in Parliament against the blasphemy laws. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to have an unblemished career. I mean, you will have critics.
No, of course.
Some will say when you defected that you should have had a by-election.
No, of course.
There's things there's critics everywhere. Yeah. But there are.
Give credit where credit's due.
We're looking for a good Labour guy. Actually, we like Josh, didn't we? We like Josh Simons, who we met. He's a good guy, but he didn't seem like a Labour guy. But I'm interested to see the 600 candidates. That's a lot of good people to vet and on board in a very short amount of time. And I'm looking forward to seeing the actual policy agenda. I think that would be exciting.
Being done as we speak.
And I'm looking forward to
we mean business when we talk about law and order.
Yes, of course. I mean, that to me is a priority.
Yeah, that is, and we're the only party talking about it, actually. Well, because the others really can't. They're kind of complicit.
Yes.
It happened under them.
Yes.
So they're kind of silent on it. I mean, the Tories gaslight about it, but
I'm excited to see it all. I'm intrigued to see where my vote goes. I think the Conservatives are going to... I think we'll see a big shift in that party over the next few years. I'm excited. I just want to say...
Don't forget the Liberals disappeared in the 1920s.
Yes, they did. That's true. But I'm interested where my vote will go, and I want to stay in this country.
How can we convince you?
Well, look, you don't have to convince me because I have to interview everyone, so I have to stay impartial as much as I can, apart from with the left because they're widows. But I want to stay in this country.
Of course, we love this country.
I love it. We've got the funniest people. We've got the best sense of humour. We've got the best football league. Beautiful countryside. Weird weather. Great history. Best people. Just that's the biggest thing I miss.
Even our sense of humour's been tempered. Sorry to interrupt.
Not mine.
No, but on TV, we had the best comedy.
We have our private WhatsApp groups. We can make jokes, but the sense of humour, the sarcasm and the dark comedy we have. I just. That's my biggest problem when I go abroad. You go to America, their humor's shit. Sorry, Americans, but I like you, but your humor's shit.
There's no nuance.
There's no nuance. I don't understand irony. We are funny. We're the funniest people in the world.
We are.
I think we have to be because of what we put up with. I don't want to go. I want to stay here. I want to build businesses. I want to open more businesses. I want to employ people.
Build an empire with your son.
I want to build an empire.
Exactly.
We do. And we want to do more. But we need a government that isn't communist, that doesn't get in the way, that makes everything shit. And so I hope that in 3-4 years' time, there are good policies from good parties and there's someone worth voting for and everything becomes brilliant again.
Thank you. I mean, the dream is that all three parties present a credible option because the better the opposition, right?
Yes.
The better plan you have but right now, we're not seeing that. So,
and I'll be interested to see where you become potentially an MP for.
Oh, thank you.
Not a coastal town.
Yeah, no.
Not a coastal town.
Oh, I do like the sea.
We need you in the city. And maybe you should run for mayor.
If they ask me.
Laila, great to meet you. Thank you. Let's do this again sometime.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you very much.
And thank you to everyone for listening. We will see you all soon.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.